Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Jon Stewart has a show called The Daily Show now. And back in the day, he used to have a show on Apple TV called The Problem with Jon Stewart, where he would talk about whatever was on his mind at the time. Apple apparently thought that this would be a worthwhile person and program to have on their platform, which is why I find it interesting that they essentially canceled the show because he wanted to talk to the FTC chair, Lina Khan. Jon Stewart said, there were certain subjects that it was really iffy for him to go over. And one of them, they just kept saying over and over again, please don't have Lina Khan on. Please don't talk to Lina Khan. Please don't have this woman on. And one of the interesting things is, who Lina Khan is. Lina Khan is the FTC chair. She got started in January of 2021, and she is younger. She's tech savvy, and she doesn't exactly have the highest opinion of Google, Apple, Facebook, any of these large tech companies. She doesn't like the anti-consumer and anti-competitive practices that they take part in. And when I heard this and I read some of her opinion papers that she had written, it's like, wow, I have to get something to put in front of her. And I did. When I got the $1 million donation to the 501c3 repair preservation group that I started with the billionaire Aaron Wolf's money, I decided to get straight to work on this. And me yelling into a camera just ain't enough. Let's get something better. So I had an antitrust attorney write a 72-page white paper, which I'll link to down below. This goes over a lot of the things I've been talking about over the years, except, it's minorly more professional than, Guido rants at camera for 10 minutes at a time. And it really goes over all this stuff. And after this got released, and as momentum started to grow, some really cool things started to happen. Like the FTC wrote a paper of themselves really going into how everything that the manufacturer says about right to repair is just bullshit. When they say that it's going to hurt the safety of the device and, all these devices are going to explode and the quality is so bad of independent repair. They went through this with a fine-tooth comb and citations and just really ripped into the manufacturers and made it obvious that all of their arguments were BS. At the time, I was fairly excited. I was also excited when I submitted this paper that we spent a good amount of money producing and trying to engage with the FTC on. We never really got the engagement we were looking for from the FTC, and as more news came out, it started to become kind of obvious why, and I talk about that in this video. It kind of lost momentum. I've gotten a little bit more blackpilled on it over the past couple of months and last year because we still can't get parts, tools, and schematics, anything to do our job. But the point is, Lina Khan is the type of person that really has an axe to grind with these companies for some of their anti-consumer policies. And the thing that I found really interesting is, whether you like or dislike Jon Stewart, whether you like or dislike Apple, just put that aside for a moment. You know who Jon Stewart is. You know the content that he makes. He's been making this type of content for over 15 years. It would take less than 90 seconds to go through 5 or 10 seconds of a bunch of his old shows to just kind of understand the type of content he creates. So if you are the world's most valuable company, if you're one of the most valuable companies in the S&P 500, you're worth $3 trillion. Jon Stewart is probably going to have something to say about you, particularly if you're being investigated by the Department of Justice and the FTC, and there are laws getting pushed in different states because they're claiming that you have repair restrictions and everything else. Regardless of what you think of all that, I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that Jon Stewart's probably going to have an opinion on this. And Jon Stewart's the type of guy that's going to want to talk to the people who have an opinion on this. So what I found really strange is, why would Apple TV actually start a show with Jon Stewart to begin with? What's the point of that? Why would you create the show, The Problem with Jon Stewart, but then tell him that he can't talk about the very problems that he's been talking about for 15 years in his program? Because, again, like or dislike Jon Stewart, you know what you're getting when you watch his program. And if there's a $3 trillion company that's being accused by hundreds of thousands of people of doing something that's kind of anti-consumer, he's going to talk about it on his show. You knew that Lina Khan was gunning for you when she got started at the FTC. You know that Jon Stewart's the type of person that's going to talk about this stuff and invite people on his show to learn. Why would you start a program with him only to then end it when he actually starts talking about the issues that he has a reputation for talking about on a regular basis? It just seems so incredibly petty that you would do that. Because somebody at Apple had to know that at some point Jon Stewart would discuss Apple, again, as the largest company in the world. And one of the things that's also very concerning here is the fact that the moment somebody with Jon Stewart's pull, Jon Stewart's money, Jon Stewart's ability to cultivate interest from an audience says one thing against this company, he's essentially pulled off of the air. And this is one of the problems that I have with the traditional means of distribution. YouTube is one step better than that, but again, it really is only one step better than that. People get deleted off this platform all the time for nonsense, and the same can be said for Twitch, which is why we developed the app that shall not be named. But in all seriousness, this is a problem. Again, Apple is being investigated by the FTC for anti-competitive and anti-repair practices among a number of different other things. somebody who comments on philosophical and political and economic issues of his day that's very popular for bringing light to things that other people were not bringing light to, wants to talk about it. He has a platform where millions of people watch him. That platform just so happens to be from the company that's being criticized, and whoop, no more show for you. And, you know, then this really kind of goes back to a decision that I made a while ago when Vice Television reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to do a television show with them. And part of this would be if I wanted to upload to my YouTube channel, I would have not been allowed to upload to my YouTube channel unless they approved the videos that I created. So I talked about that with this contract that I read from Viceland Television over here. I read the contract and I read why I thought it was a bad idea back when I had slightly more hair. And in this video, I was also talking about Vice's bankruptcy, and the main reason that I thought it was deserved is that there was a particular case that we were all going over, and when court documents came out that went against the narrative that Apple was 100% the villain, I went over them numerous times. And as I go over in this video, Vice didn't. I sent them the court documents. I sent Vice why I thought that they should be corrected because their article was like, it wasn't even a case of like an opinion issue. It wasn't an issue where like we disagree on this subjective thing. Like it was just fundamentally objectively wrong. It wasn't even like the base level of it was correct, but then like a small detail that didn't really matter was wrong. It was just the entire thing was wrong. And they never did anything about it. Now, if I had signed a contract with them and I had an issue like that, would I have been able to talk about it on their program? I don't know. More importantly, if they have control over my YouTube channel, would I have been able to upload a video to YouTube about what was going on? No. And this is why you have to be really careful as a creator, whether you're a small creator like me or whether you're a gigantic creator that's well known like Jon Stewart. Because at the end of the day, when you use these type of platforms to host your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas, again, it doesn't matter if you are a very rich man with a very large and diverse audience or whether you're just screaming into the void to 10 or 20,000 people as they watch you fix a vibrating bed remote. When you sign these types of contracts, you really are at the beck and call of somebody who can just delete you if you say something that you don't like, even if it's true. Again, in this case, he hadn't even had the conversation with Lina Khan yet. Simply the threat of having a conversation about these things, simply the idea that he may do it was enough for them to pull a program that they had agreed to. And that's a serious problem, particularly when you have a very small number of companies nowadays that own most of the means by which we communicate, which is why apps like the app that shall not be named were serious projects that we were working on at the company that shall not be named, because these are issues that are going to get worse and worse. If they can do that to Jon Stewart, you bet your ass that they could do that to somebody like me. Now, luckily, again, the company that is hosting all of my videos where I criticize Apple might just have a bone to pick with Apple. So maybe, you know, my videos kind of have a little bit more of a home on this platform. But what you may have realized with 2 of the 3 of the videos that I released back in September and October that you can't find in this platform anymore because I might have criticized some of the actions of that company, you kind of start to see where I'm going there with this problem. And the point that I'm really trying to get across here is, again, like when it happens to Destiny on Twitch or when it happens to like 3D Print General on YouTube or it happens to me here, people are going to say, oh, you know, who gives a shit about you anyway, whatever. It happened to Jon Stewart. If it can happen to Jon Stewart, if these companies can control whether or not he has the ability to have a woman on his show that is the FTC chair when the very point of that show is to discuss the problems with Jon Stewart of our time, then it can be done to anybody. And I think it's something that we should be very, very aware with, because this ability to silence important conversations is but again, right now it may be happening with issues that you don't care about, but it may someday happen with issues that you do care about. And if you don't speak up about it or do something now, well, it can get worse and worse into the future. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people back when the app that shall not be named was talked about on this channel, people thought like, this is stupid. You're going to lose your channel. Why would you do this? And at the time, I was completely willing to risk a 2 million subscriber YouTube channel to try and drive this point home that a small number of companies owning your identity and, more importantly, owning your ability to connect with your audience and getting to choose what it is people hear and don't hear, not only is that dangerous and bad for society, but it just fundamentally goes against the point of the internet. The entire point of the internet was supposed to be you. I mean, this was even the cover of Time magazine. You know, like Aaron talks about this all the time. He has a copy of this magazine and he calls it a giant piece of propaganda. Back in 2000, Time's Person of the Year was you. Yes, you. You control the information age. Welcome to your world. That was what the internet was advertised to be. And you have this little screen over here where somebody has a piece of media that they're playing, but what they didn't say back in 2000 is that a very small number of companies or people would be able to decide what it is you could or could not see. Is this the age of you? Do you control the information age? Or does Apple? Does Google? Does Amazon? Something to think about. Because again, regardless of whether you like or hate Jon Stewart, if they could control Jon Stewart, you bet your ass that they could control you. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.